So now, as an academy director, what does your like responsibilities look like? What are you in charge of? What are you supposed to be doing?
My main responsibility is to manage the staff at the academy. We have give or take 26, 27 full-time employees, and my job is to manage them and to support them. Like if to me the most important people in the academy are always going to be the players. They're the ones who make it to the first team, to the second team. They're the one who hopefully get sold, or they're the one who scored the winning goal in a tournament. So
Okay.
they're the most important part. So the people working directly with the players are the next most important people in this academy. So my job right now is to support our athletic trainers so they can do their job to taking care of our players, or strength and conditioning coaches so they can do their job of getting them physically ready for the next level, and to avoid injuries, to support our coaches so they can help our players and develop them and get them better. So it's a role of basically solving problems and absorbing all the headaches, so the
Yeah.
people who actually work with the players can focus on what they do best, which is coaching, training, strength and conditioning, medical, scouting. Let these guys do their job. And my job is to take all the problems away from them.
So you just make sure that like everybody at the club has the same like vision for the academy. Everybody, and I'm assuming that vision is obviously to promote as many players as we can to that next level,
For the
right?
first team and to be the best academy in the nation. So
Of course.
the two
You
goals.
guys had a fantastic season last year.
We're not far. We're not far. I guess we have improved a lot lately, and the previous academy director did a good job. Hopefully, I can continue to build on that, and continue to take this academy where we want to be, best academy in the nation, and be the one who promote the most players to the first and second team.
Yeah, that's all right, Jose. So I got a couple questions for you.
Shoot them
All
away.
right. How do you define success at the youth academy level? Like beyond just winning, more than
No,
winning.
honestly, I'm a person scout. I can direct to just Jose as myself that winning is important, because winning goes along development, but success in an academy level is how many players you have at the first or second team. Absolutely, to me, that's a non-negotiable. No, if I have more players in the first team than anybody else coming from the academy, that's success. And the
And how
level
do
of the
you
player is not the same to have in the first team a third goalkeeper or a fourth striker than a starting goalkeeper, a starting striker, a starting like right back, like Alex Freeman in Orlando City.
and how do you determine like which player is essentially ready to make the jump, at least join the training sessions? Obviously, we know like with performance, right? They're consistently performing, they're doing great, but I know that sometimes maybe throwing them in that environment might like shake them up. Like when do you know exactly when a player's like, yeah, we gotta promote him for at least the first training session or this week or whatever the case is?
No, I think it's a long process. No, I tell my players, especially at the U18s, who are the ones kind of like closer to that second team, that we're gonna expose them to the first and second team. Or we're lucky enough that in Orlando City, the first and second team is always happy to bring players from the academy to training sessions, help with a rondo, help with a tactical session. So every time they go, and I tell every guy, all these guys, every single time, every time they go, it's a job interview for them. You're applying for a job. You're applying for a first or second team contract. So my job is to expose you. My job is to fight for you to have those opportunities. I cannot do the interview for you. Like,
I love
so you have a
that.
kid or a friend. No, the best way you can help is lead them like, hey, you should apply for this job. You should, when you go to this interview, this is how you should present yourself. But you can't do the interview for someone else. So I can't play for them when I'm there. They're better than me, so that's good. But I cannot do that job interview for them. But I can prepare them the best way I can, so when they go, they're ready. They're physically ready. They're mentally ready. They are respectful. They know what to do, how to train, the intensity needed to be at that level. So the best I can do for them is to prepare them the best way I can, and then to expose them. After that, it's up to them. In Orlando City, is a collective thing. It's not my decision only who goes, and it's not the second team head coach decision only who stays. No, it's a collective club decision where there are multiple people who understand soccer and understand how Orlando City play, the player that we need it for, that we all get together and decide, or kind of like lead the way. But at the end of the day, it's the player who has to, every time he gets that opportunity, shows performs constantly. And it's not one day. You go one day and you do great one day, you will leave a good impression, but then the 3-4 next time that you go, you don't. People will know, okay, you were a one-time thing. If you get exposed to that second team, first team training session, maybe get a couple of minutes with the second team, and you constantly perform, people start to see that. So it's that consistency at that level that will, that will basically allow you to stay there and get that second team, first team contract.
So you mentioned a little bit like every day is a job interview, the mentality, everything. At what role do you start paying attention, or at what point in the player's development do you start paying attention a little bit more on the physical side or the mental side or the tactical side? Like around what age? Like what does the ideal pathway look like from a U12 to a first team? Ideal pathway.
No, we do that. We have a new head of methodology at the academy, which his job is to make sure we train the right thing at the right years. It's really important to understand that, for example, at 6 years old, is a very selfish person. Every 6 years old. Not your kid, not my kid, not his kid. They're all selfish. So if you start working, can you work on passing at 6 years old? You can. They're physically strong to make a 5-year pass, but they're not mentally ready. So if you force a 6 years old to pass the ball, when a 6 years old will be like, it's my ball and I want it. So why waste that time in teaching them how to pass when they don't want to do it? It's a good time to teach them how to run with the ball, how to dribble, because they want to have the ball by themselves. So give it to them. So a key for a good methodology for the academy is to understand when to work on what. For us, we start at U12. A U12 key is the technical skills. If you master the ball, if you know how to pass, how to run, how to dribble, you master all of that, then everything becomes easy. U13, U14, even at U12, you can do a little bit of the physical side, but not necessarily gym. What you can do is to help them understand their body, how to stretch, how to take care of themselves. You're not going to put weight on a U12, but you can teach them how to stretch. So now they understand their body, they understand what muscles should not be hurting or when should be hurting. Right. U13, U14, you start having an introduction to kind of like the physical part. You can start having some sprint, a little bit of strength. Nothing crazy. They're still very young. Those are the ages where you're hitting puberty. So your body changes a lot. Some kids have some pains in their bodies, especially like in their knees or hips, because they're stretching, they're growing too quickly and their body's not catching up. So some of them lose coordination a little bit because of that. That you grew too quickly, that now it's hard for you to control your body. So you need to help them with that coordination, help them a little bit with the strength, because now you grew, so you might be too skinny, so you might be a little bit weak in some areas, so help strength this area, but nothing too crazy. You just managing that growth that happens normally at U13, U14 because of puberty. And now U15, U16, and definitely U18 is when you start, okay, let's get serious. Obviously, the closer you are to the first and second team, the more serious you get, but at U15, U16, you start benching, you start doing strength and conditioning, you start hitting the gym. That's when become serious with the U18 as a very, very
key age. Would you say that's the age when you start seeing like the little details that maybe the player's doing outside of training by themselves? Like good habits, right? Eating right, sleeping well, recovering well, whatever the case may be, like the little things.
I think good habits is good in every age group. I think a player who trains well, recover well, eat well, sleep well will always help. It's just we're humans. The older you get, the harder it is to recover. So at U12, you can play a game and the next day you're perfectly fine. At U18, you play 90 minutes, the next day you're tired. And it's okay, you should be tired, but you are tired. So that recovery, that things that you do outside, stretching well, eating well, sleeping well, makes you be a little bit less tired, which means you are a little bit more ready the next day for practice. Because if I'm exhausted on Sunday and I train on Monday I might still be tired. But if you play on Saturday, and from Saturday to Monday that you train again, you're sleeping well, you're eating well, you're stretching well. On Monday, you're probably good to go again and keep training instead of being constantly tired. So that's why a U12 is not as relevant. I mean, it is relevant, but players at U12, you can play a game every day and you will be fine. Your body can handle it. But it's good to start having those habits when you're little. So when you are U18, you're already used to this. Instead of you're used to eating ice cream or pizza after a game all your life, and now you're 15 and telling you have to have a banana and a protein shake And I'll be like, well, where's my pizza? Okay, so it's not that you have to have U12, give them an ice cream, the kid from time to time, but start doing those good habits as soon as you can, just because it helps you in the long run.
So, what does a typical season look like for an Orlando City Academy player? Let's say you sign a new U13 kid player. First day of preseason, how does that look like? Do you guys meet midway through the season, end of the season review? How often are there one-on-one meetings talking about their game and their development? Like, how does that process look like?
Yeah, for the little ones, I mean, all age, we start now. Older ones started last week. The youngest group started today. First thing we do is body composition and, a little bit of physical test. Nothing big. We're not going to tell a U12, hey, you're not physically strong, but it's good to know where you start and where you finish, or where you start every year, just to see the evolution. Okay, and again, it's not relevant of the player U12 is not strong enough, but it's good to know how much did you grow in a year. So we start with that body composition and physical testing. Next day, and then from day 2, we have a team meeting just to tell these are the expectations for the season. This is what we expect from you. If there is a change of staff, head coach, assistant coach, strength and conditioning coach, we introduce them. And then normally from day 2 or 3, we're on the field. We definitely meet with the players 3 times a year, once at the end of every term, on a 1v1 situation where we have some cuts, videos, strength, weaknesses, what you need to do better, what you're doing very well. But then the coaches at the end of the day, every day, are giving players constant feedback. Sometimes players come to me like, oh, I only meet with the coach for every 3 months. Well, but he told you yesterday in a run, though, you need to do this. You do it. And that was yesterday. You did it today, because today we did a similar exercise. Did you do it? No. So yes, you get feedback like serious sitting down video every 3 months, but every day you're getting information. And I think a player who makes it to the next level is the one who can process that information and adapt. We all want to make mistakes, especially at the youth level, but the coach is there to see it and help you correct it. And the ones who are open for feedback, there are players who don't like feedback, and I don't like to listen to the coach. Those players don't tend to make it too far, but the ones who are open for feedback, listen to the coach, and then focus on like, okay, coach told me to do this, I'm going to do it, or I'm going to try to get better at it. Those are the ones who end up making it. And if you wait every 3 months to have a meeting to start changing things, you're too late. Every day you get something. Maybe it's a comment on a drill. Maybe it's at the end of the session. Hey, I like how you did that. Hey, you need to change that, whatever that is. But every day the coach will eventually say something to you one way or another. Whether it's the head coach or the assistant coach, someone will probably say something to you. Listen and make sure you adapt to that information.
I remember when I was playing back around that age, we would have training sometimes similar to the same training times as like the first or second team, and you could just see them, right?
Yeah.
Is that something similar with Orlando City?
Yeah, U15, U16s, and U18s train at the same time that the first and second team, different fields, but next to each other. So we can see each other, and that's why there is this constant movement of players from especially the U18s going to the second team and first team. We want that interaction. We do that on purpose. So we train at the same time that the first and second team, just for that, to facilitate that. And as I said, our job is to expose the players. Their job is to shine when they get these opportunities.
Okay. It's amazing. Let me see this another question for you. What qualities do you prioritize when scouting young talent? Like, I guess we could split it up into the younger age groups, U13s, U16s, and then maybe that one or two players at the U18 level. What are main qualities depending on the age group?
Same thing I was talking before about methodology. Methodology and scouting come next to each other. A scout is basically, if a head coach is a teacher, the scout is the SAT evaluator. Okay, so you need to know what they're teaching so you know what you're evaluating for. Same thing I was saying before, at 6 years old, basically should be working on dribbling and running with the ball. So if me as a scout, I get there, he doesn't know what offside trap is. But with 6 years old, he's supposed to know that. So to me, coordination and technique, coordination is the key thing to look for up to 6, 7 years old. Then individual technique up to 11, U12s. Then you start introducing roles but not roles like we attacking or defending. Is my role as a player when those things are happening. So when we are attacking, am I the player with the ball or I'm not the player with the ball? If I'm the player with the ball, I'm passing, shooting, dribbling, all the skills that I learned. If I'm not the player with the ball, but we're attacking, am I doing a supportive run? Am I making a run into space? Things like that. Same thing when you're defending. Am I defending the player with the ball? Tackle, or whatever skills or actions I need to do. I'm not defending the player with the ball. Recover, support, balance, all of that you need to do when you are defending. So that's your role as a player within a team environment. That's U13, U14. Once you get to U15, U16, now is can you work in a team environment and do you have those physical skills, those mental skills? By U12 is not the most competitive person. It's fine. It's 11 years old. U15, U16, if someone push you, I expect you to push back. If you're sprinting, I expect you to be, physically strong enough, fast enough for those physical levels of the game. That starts at U15, U16 level, and you're still looking at everything that you're looking for. Is the player coordinated? Is the player technically clean? Is the player tactically smart? All of that, but you keep adding things. Like in school, a 11th grade evaluation at the end of the season is not the same that 7th or 6th grade evaluation at the end of the season. You are evaluating them on different things. The older you get evaluated on more things. Let's say more skills, physical, mental, tactical, that if you are at U11. So when I scout for U11 to U12, is pure technique, pretty much, and then we keep adding up.
It's amazing. That's amazing. How do you make sure, like, what's an example that you can think of that you make sure that one young player is developing those habits that you need them to develop in order to make that jump? Like, what are some maybe specific things that you look for? Is it like, like you said, I know that the technical aspect is very important at that age, but are there like other little things that like, oh, every player needs to have this as an academy director, for example?
No, I don't think, especially in the little ones, I think everybody needs to have willingness to learn. That's what I was saying before. I think everybody has to have a growth mindset and be able to take feedback and from the coaches. I think that's something that whether you're 10 years old or 17, because we're teaching you something. We're teaching you something different at 10 years old that we're teaching you at 16, but you need to be willing to learn on both age groups. And one is not more important than another. I always have coaches like, oh, I want to coach U18, so what about U12? Mm-hmm. Why is not equally as important? A player change more and develop more at U12 than at U18. And if we said before, we're here to develop players, let's not forget that. So I don't think you have to have one thing that everybody has, because what you coach, teach, or scout at U12 is different than U18. But I think if something is consistent, is that growth mindset and willingness to learn, and probably like hard work. If a player is lazy, he's probably lazy. But if a player is a hard work, there are things hard to teach. If you're a lazy kid, that's something hard to.
What if you come across like a very talented lazy kid? How would you work with a player like that?
No, at the end of the day, like, there have been pro players that were talented and lazy, and they make it. I would say 30 years ago, a lot of them made it. Today, I think today a lot less lazy players make it than 30 years ago. So people give me examples of, I think Riquelme was lazy. Yeah, Riquelme also played 15 years ago and was in the academy 30 years ago. I think right now there are more Cristiano Ronaldos than Riquelmes. I think today soccer has changed, and soccer will continue to develop and change, and it has become a little more physical than before. 40 years ago, players were smoking cigarette in halftime. Today, forget about it, So we can use examples of players 30 years ago with players today. It's really hard for you to find a Champions League level player that is lazy, that doesn't run back, that doesn't defend, that doesn't cover ground. The classic 10 that just give me the ball and let me be. Doesn't work anymore. Now the 10s press and run and hunt and run back, because you can't defend one man down. Soccer became so tactical that it's all about creating superiorities. No, it's not 11v11 game anymore. It's a 3v2, 2v1 type of game. So if you don't do the defensive work, you letting the other team create superiorities very easily because you're defending one man down because you're not running. So if the other team is able to move the ball well and you're not running, you're basically a liability. So you really have to be very, very talented to be a liability defensively if you want to make it on. I had those players and I tell them, listen, you're really good. You score a goal today and assist, but you didn't defend. The next game, if you don't score and you don't assist and you don't defend, at the end of the day, you can have a score from 1 to 10. If you score and assist and you don't defend, I give you an 8 out of 10. If you score, assist, and you defend, I give you a 10 out of 10. But if you don't score and you don't assist and you don't defend, I give you a 3. Yeah. So at the end of the season, you're not going to be able to score or assist in every single game. So game average is going to be low. And I want someone who consistently give me a 7 or 8. Now, you don't score, you don't assist, but you run, you press, you help your team, definitely give you a 7. Because, so that's what I want. Now, we want a player that every game is at least a 7. You run, you press, you support your teammate, you cover ground, you sacrifice yourself for others. You're definitely a 7. And now you score
that standard.
You score and assist, or you provide this. You're a goalkeeper, you save this, and you're a center back. You cut 2 chances, then you're a 10. Then you give me a 10 out of 10 performance. But if you don't run and you don't that part, your bar starts in a 3. And now you're relying on your talent to move that qualification higher than a 3.
And what age do you start implementing the tactical side, where you need to make sure that players really understand the philosophy, the game model, everything that you want them to do, the movements off the ball, all those little things that I guess a lot of times people watching from the outside don't really pay attention. We're more worried about the player that dribbled and scored the goal or the player that made the assist, but what about the movements and the actions before that? Like, at what age does that become very important?
No, it goes gradually. Before I was saying about methodology, U12 technique is the majority of what you do. Doesn't mean that it's the only thing that you do. So maybe at U12, 70% of your time you're working on technique, but you still have some tactical thing. You still have some stretching, which is physical. You still work on the mental side for the players to kind of stay strong. So even though you have that different, you're always going to work on technique, tactical, physical, and mental things. Is the weight what it changes. And the youngest you are, the weight of the technical part is going to be higher than the older you are. At U18, the technique might be 15, 20%. You can never leave it at 0. But it might be at 15, 20% of your time. The tactical, it goes the other way around. At U12 is little, it might be 10%. You want the team organized. You don't want the team, running everywhere. At least you want a 9v9 team that at least organized. But once you get to U18, that's when you're definitely very tactically heavy. And as you need to adapt to different formation, different style of play. They're pressing higher, in a low block. At U12, you don't have to care about any of that. So the older you get, the tactical component becomes more and more important. So you need to be tactically smart by U15, U16, definitely U18 level.
What is the most exciting part of your job?
I think seeing the kids. You change people's life, players and staff. Now part of my job is to recruit staff members for the teams, and now you give me an opportunity for someone to come to an MLS academy, which I hope they're very excited to take on the new role. And the same thing for the players. You might get a new player call up to the national team. You might get a player going to the second team. So at the end of the day, you're here to help them, and once they succeed, you succeed. Once another player sign a second team contract is what makes me happy. When another player gets to represent the national team, that makes me super proud and happy. Once another staff member would promote the staff too. Some staff members at Orlando City, I got myself a promotion from head scout to now academy director. Some other people got promotions to be with the second team, with the first team. So at the end, they're all humans that they're doing a job, and you feel happy for them. So once you see one of those guys moving to better, bigger things, that gets a smile on my face for sure.
It's amazing. So to end the call, Jose, what are you most looking forward to for this 25-26 season? What is the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to?
It's hard to pick. Honestly, it's hard to pick one. I think seeing the new young ones. I'm still a scout at heart. and the new U12, the new, which are mostly U11s, they're 2015, so they're technically U11s. Seeing that new age group coming to the facilities for the first time, wearing the Orlando City gear for the first time, playing the first game, scoring the first goal, wearing purple, that's always nice. No, that's always nice. Not that if a team does it, doesn't make me happy, but it's always, you know, when you see the light in their face when they come to the facilities for the first time, do their training, introduce to their coaches, and wear purple for the first time. I think it's really hard to replicate that feeling of wearing the jersey of the team that you support, that you love for the first time. That's really hard feeling to replicate, and I can't wait to see these guys playing their first, just a friendly game, not just to. But it's gonna be important for them because it's the first time that they represent, you know, the Lions. So
that's amazing. Well, guys, this was a great call. Jose Campos, new Academy Director of Orlando City. Jose, I wish you the best of luck this season, and I'll definitely be keeping up with you guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for your time.